these posters with you in the bikini. They mysteriously disappeared from the streets of Bombay. How did that happen?
Well, not streets of Bombay, but definitely from Carmichael Road, where I lived, because my mother-in-law was visiting me.
Is she here yet?
Okay, now I'm panicking.
Oh, you outdid me.
Big is always better.
I'm hot.
Listen, I'm not playing this game.
God is just fallen off.
His bum is that good.
Scuba diving. You want to go scuba diving?
Sitting there going,
Khana, just stop talking. Now you're embarrassing.
Gopi, stop it, Gopi.
it's such an honor to have you here on the Icons, and I have 30 minutes to capture 78 years. So I'm going to dive right in.
Okay.
The most remarkable thing at the beginning was the fact that you were related to Rabindranath Tagore from both sides of your family. I mean, what was that like? Do you have any family anecdotes?
Well, it was such a privilege, really, but I didn't, of course, as a young person, didn't realize what a privilege it was. Can I make a confession, which I did when I was, about 9 years old? And I mean, obviously, I didn't have a clue who Rabindranath Tagore was. So, so in school, they asked us to write a modern poetry. So I came home and I went straight to the library. It says Adhunik Kobitas, and I looked through it and I found a wonderful poem that caught my fancy. So I wrote it down and took it to the school the next day. And my teacher read it and said, "You've written this?" I said, "Yes." And she asked me again, "Are you sure you've written it?" I said, "Yes, of course I've written it." And that was a very, very famous poem of Tagore, and not simple one bit. It was it was called Proshno, means a question. My punishment was to stand in front of the junior school. So when I came home, I told my mother, she said, "I mean, this won't do. You must really know who Tagore is." So that's when I was being taught Tagore and who Tagore was, etc.
How could you plagiarize your own relative?
Can you imagine?
Anybody in the movie business before you? Were there anyone?
My sister acted in Kabuliwala.
Okay,
Which
how did
was
that
made
start?
by...
Movies were part of your...
Not at all. We were not even allowed to see movies.
Yeah.
And it was considered a very bad profession. Tinku, my little sister, she was 5 years old. And they were making Kabuliwala and they were looking for Minnie. And Tapan Sinha happened to be a friend of my mother. So they liked Tinku. And she was really spontaneous and became a heartthrob.
So then how did you start?
I think although Shrutajit Rai was a very famous name and was winning awards everywhere, but still people from good families were hesitant to work with him. And he was looking for a child bride for Apu Shangshar, the world of Apu. So he was, his scouts were everywhere. And also he had a very bad experience in one of his earlier films. Girl was sitting and performing while her parents came and pulled her away from the set. So he didn't want that kind of a situation. So he felt that perhaps this family, because they had allowed Tinku to work in a film, wouldn't have those prejudices. One day the phone rang and on the other side was Shrutajit Rai himself wanting to speak to my father. And to cut a long story short, my father, of course, said it will be a great honor.
Going on the set, now you have to suddenly emote, you have to say these lines, it's an alien world. You were managed, I mean, how did you manage to cope with all of that at 13?
It was no pressure at all. I met Manikda, went to his house, and he was a very kind of tall man, and he had a very booming voice. But he would always sit down or make eye contact. One felt completely at ease with him. And he narrated the whole story. He didn't do any audition with me, but asked me to wear a sari. So his wife dressed me up and put my hair up in a tight bun, because I had very curly hair those days, I remember, and put a bindi on my forehead. And he was very thrilled. And he sort of, when I walked in, he said, Isho Apurna. But I had no idea what I was doing, really. I mean, performing,
Really?
like you're saying, emoting. The first days of shooting, nobody forgets that. And I was standing, Shomitra and I, it was Shomitra's first film also. So we were standing behind a closed door. The other side of the closed door was the camera. And our brief was that when he says start sound, camera, action, Shomitra is supposed to open the door, and I cross and looks at me and says Isho, means come in. And then I cross the threshold and walk in. So while we were waiting, Shomitra asked me, are you feeling nervous? So I said, no, why should I feel nervous? And I was dressed in this bridal outfit, because he just got me married and he's brought me to his barsati. So when he says Isho, I cross the threshold and I walk in. And then he says, look right, look left, look up, raise your shoulder a little bit, sigh, take a deep sigh, and cut. Excellent, next shot. So that was
wow.
my first day's shooting. So it was very easy to follow his instructions. It remains one of the 100 best films in the world.
So talking about the things that you did, which nobody else did, you wore a bikini. And that was when?
I think
1967.
I won't ever be able to get over that one because it became such a big thing. Like just
That's
just
great.
an apparel, just a piece of clothing can create so much controversy. But yes, I did. Again, it was. I can't say I was forced to do it or somebody asked me to do it. It was entirely my decision. Entirely, even the photographer who was doing it, he wasn't quite approving the idea. So I did that spontaneously, and when it made the cover, there was a huge
I can
uproar.
imagine.
And Shakti ji summoned me and blew me up and want to be taken seriously. This is not the way. And
Yeah, at that time, they'll probably say if you want to be a vamp, then you should wear these
and
clothes.
also there were a lot of things read into it that I wanted to grab eyeballs. I wanted to be commercially more viable. I just thought I looked nice. Tiger was in London, and those days we only had telegrams. But he wrote back and saying, though, you must be looking nice and don't worry about it. So that was the only supportive voice I had. But it was a learning curve. I realized that if you can't live in a world of your own. I mean, if you're a public figure, you must understand your audience. You must understand where you are. In front of the camera, you're emoting, which is landing very well with the Indian audience because people accepted me. But this kind of radical things will not go down well with your Indian audience. So why do it? Because you're not really wanting to shock people. So I guess, and then after that, I made a conscious effort of doing films like Aradhana.
But before that, these posters with you in the bikini, they mysteriously disappeared from the streets of Bombay. How did that happen?
Well, not streets of Bombay, but definitely from Carmichael Road, where I lived, because my mother-in-law was visiting me. We were not married then, I just got engaged. There was this huge poster, and where Shamiji is standing, and then behind it's me, and my midriff is covered because of his body. So my bare legs and bare arms are outside. So it was quite a titillating poster. So at night, my driver and the bearer went and took it out. But there must have been many other posters on the way, which Amma saw, but she was...
Mother-in-law did not ask you any
no,
questions?
she didn't bother.
Bollywood and cricket, these are the two things
Absolutely.
that India loves.
Cinema,
and you have both
cinema and cricket,
in
yes.
your family. How
Yeah.
did you meet your husband?
Bengal loves sports, and I was no exception. And of course, and I was a Jai Simha fan. And then I think I met him at one of these cricket parties, and he had just come back from England. So that was the first time we met. And then I was going to Nainital for Waqt, and I was in Delhi when he scored his double century. So we had exchanged telephone numbers in Kolkata. So I called his house because there was obviously no mobile phone then, and left a message saying, well done, congratulations, and forgot all about it.
But did
And
you
then-
have a crush on him And was this a
I
way of
liked
reaching
him.
out?
I
Okay.
liked him. Like I said, I was a Jaisima fan, not so much of a Pataudi fan. But yes, we did like each other. But that's it, nothing else. And then when I came back to Mumbai, I was staying with a friend, Dheera. She said there was somebody, very peculiar message I got, that you've got 5 fridges. So did you order 5 fridges? I got so nervous because those days, um, there was no foreign stuff could come. There was heavy duties and you need permission to. I said, somebody's trying to get me into trouble. I mean, I didn't order any fridge. So I said, I better return this call and find out what's happening. So I called that number, and of course it was Tiger, and he thought it was very funny, and
He just thought it was funny.
It was funny. So then he said, "Shall we go out for a cup of coffee?" I said, "Yes, why not?" So we did, and then we chatted and chatted and chatted, and I very gentle, and I found him that he wouldn't hurt me intentionally ever. As actors, we believe in timing, and there is a body clock that is continuously telling you this is the right time for doing this. I just felt that I had to get married after 2 years of engagement. Then another 2 years later, I said, now I must start my family.
So you're basically a very pragmatic, practical person. You've planned all these things. It's not like you got swept away.
No.
You decided this is the time to get married, this is to have kids, this is when I'm working.
Yes, because I came from a joint family, and I didn't. I remember once coming back late at night, and the family was sleeping, and I felt a kind of a panic attack. I said, no, I don't really want to have a solo life. Some people love it, and I felt that yes, I want my family, and I want a husband, I want a home. I knew it would be very difficult because working in films was so chaotic, because there was these unlimited hours. We would arrive on time, and all these heroes except Shashi and Amitabh, including your father, would all arrive late.
But you gave your biggest hits with someone who did not come on
On
time.
time.
How many movies did you do with my dad? 10?
I haven't counted, but quite a few.
But the
good
most
films.
Amazing movies. Did you know when you were doing Aradhana or Amar Prem that these
No.
would be
See,
iconic
Aradhana
movies?
Kaka was very new because all these 12 producers had signed him.
Yeah.
Shaktiji was going to make a film with Shami Kapoor, but Shamiji didn't have dates at that time. So he had dates of Rajesh Khanna. So he started Aradhana. First, he didn't want to take me. And Sachin Bhaumik, I said, no, you can't take anybody else. You have to take me. And I really sat on them till they said yes. So Aradhana happened in record time. And it became, like I keep saying, that it was R&R of our time.
Yeah, there was nothing like it.
Nothing like it. In South India, where there was agitation, protest that, we don't want to accept Hindi, it ran for 50 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, nobody expected that. Oh, I remember Shaktiji, we were watching the film together at Lotus. At that point, when I'm first shown with my hair, that bad makeup, that hair and everything, in the jail, and Madan Puri ji comes to me, and we have that little 1-minute scene. The audience burst out laughing. They were laughing. Shaktiji at that point walked out of the theatre. But after that 1-minute scene, you could hear people sniffling and going, And then somebody ran back and said, it's all right, people are crying, just come back. So people accepted.
Then you had all these kids, they grew up, and then Saif came into the movies.
Yes.
Were you excited, or did you say, why are you doing this? What was your reaction?
Well, I didn't think he would, because he went to, they were all brought up to follow in their father's footsteps, so to speak. So I don't know how, but all of them were interested in films. And Saif wanted to join films. And when he came back, he didn't really want to study further. And yes, we did a ad, that Gwalior Rayon ad that Tiger and I used to do.
Yeah.
So with him, and then Firoz Nadia Adwala called, and somebody else called. So there were lots of offers.
But I did a couple of movies with him at that time, and I remember he was so frustrated because it was a different world. He would come on the set, remove his shirt, and then he would practice all his dance steps, sweating away, cursing everyone.
Yes.
He tried really, really
He
hard.
did. He has worked very hard. I remember you. I don't know if you remember. I don't know why I was there, and I came and you were sitting. It was an outdoor, it was in a studio, but an outdoor area. You were sitting there. And I said, what you're doing? He said, you rolled your eyes, and I said, waiting for Saif.
We used to bicker a lot. We would have lots of fights, Seth and me. I think we were so immature. Once I tried kicking him before the shot started, and he moved, and I banged my leg on some iron rod, and I had such a big bump,
Oh,
and he was
no.
standing and laughing. But he did come with me to the doctor. He was sweet like that.
Yeah.
So not only your kids, but your grandkids are also in the movie business.
Yes.
And Sarah, does she come to you for advice? What do you say to her?
She's so much fun. Yes, she comes, and we did an ad together this time. Yes. And she wanted to call me Badi Amma in the ad, and they said, no, call her Dadi. And she said, no, I'm not going to call her Dadi, I'm going to call her Badi Amma. So she was quite clear. I love her limericks.
Okay.
And on the spot limericks. I mean, so I said, you have to write something for me. So she has written something for me, which I'm getting framed.
Your family is actually the poster for blended families. You all come from different backgrounds, different religions, different cultures. I remember reading somewhere that when you were getting married, your parents were threatened because you were marrying a Muslim that they would get shot.
Yeah, bullets shall speak, yes.
Oh my gosh. So you came from that, and now you have this entire family. Completely all. I mean, I think Soha's married Kunal and all of them. So how do you, as the matriarch of this family, make sure that everything is harmonious?
I don't think I have anything to do with it. It's I mean, they all live there in their own homes with their own adjustments. All want to keep in touch, basically. So I really don't have much to do with it. But I keep in touch with all of them.
No, but you set the bar for them.
I guess because when in my family, everybody was like my uncle, my cousins, they were all married to Bengalis. And in Tiger's family, they were all married to, their own, from their own community. So Tiger and I were the only people. And we just announced to our respective families that we are getting married. Then I was working and he was playing cricket. So we didn't really know what the background angst were. So my family had organized the wedding at Fort William because they were very worried what might happen because there were a lot of threats and things. But Fort William last minute refused because some of the barats that were coming, some of them had some army connection. So they said, no, in that case, we cannot give our space. So last minute, they found some ambassador friends, big house.
But isn't that wonderful? So this is really, the entire big family, secular family. You all celebrate every faith, clearly. And I wish the rest of India would follow suit.
I think Mumbai is really a wonderful place. I just love the spirit of Bombay, really.
Yeah, Bombay is
and
very special.
It's quite democratic. I mean, you could be a superstar and you could be working in the production. Everybody has a sense of self, and when they meet in the evening, it's the hierarchy is not sort of underlined.
No, and you can't even understand who is really doing what. I remember once my car was not working and I was in the rickshaw with my driver, and the rickshaw stopped at this signal. And there was a lady, who was begging, and she was talking to the driver, and they had a long conversation. And as we moved ahead, I asked him, I said, you know this lady, this lady who's begging. He said, she's our malkin, she has 2 rickshaws. She's told me it's going to rain, so park the rickshaw under the chapra. I was like, wow, that's Bombay for you.
That's Bombay for you.
Yeah. At this stage of your life, you're still working. What excites you every day?
There is a huge world I have outside of films. Worked with UNICEF and worked with the children. And at that time, the HIV/AIDS orphan was an issue. It's no longer is, thank God, because of ARV. So I'm involved with a lot of other NGOs. We have a small trust where we work with acid survivors. Beyond film, there's a big wide world. And I was always conscious of that.
Yeah.
And of course, when I worked in Gulmohar, I was very excited.
You're living in a wonderful time. There's suddenly this resurgence of the older woman and older actor.
Yes.
And I mean, we just saw Martha Stewart on the cover of Illustrated in a swimsuit.
Yes.
Are we going to see you in a bikini again on a cover?
I don't think so. I've done that, and I've moved on. But yes, most certainly, I don't want to do stereotypical roles. And I would love to work with director-led films because there are such wonderful. I don't know if you've seen Mango Dreams with
Yes.
and Pankaj Tripathi. I just adore him, and of course I will see OMG because Akshay, yes, but Pankaj Tripathi also because I just think he's so good.
He
Don't
is.
you?
He's
He's
brilliant.
brilliant.
I mean, you've had this wonderful life. I was talking to Wahida ji, and she told me that she has, special things she does to make her every day magnificent. So she will put on all the lights at 5. She will get dressed. She'll put on music. Do you have rituals like that are really special?
No, sometimes I'm so bogged down with unfun things
Oh gosh.
that I have to. Those unfun things are still quite my part of life. I'm trying to resolve them one by one. And then once I've resolved, something else crops up. So, like I said, whatever Tiger did, all the unfun things, now I have to do. And the children are having fun here. They're all working and doing their own things. But I'm trying to now involve them to take over from me. Then I think I will do what Wahida ji does. And I love the way 3 of them go up on holidays, Asha ji, Helen. And I'm a great fan of Wahida ji. She knows. And I remember when in Talash, I did a song and they sent the rushes to Mehboob studio. I dragged Wahida ji. I said, you have to come and see it. And poor thing, very sweetly she came.
At this stage, when you look at your life, what are the defining decisions you made that have led you to this successful place?
Well, the first crossroad, which happened very accidentally, the Satyajit Ray film that came my way, without my asking for it, it completely changed my life. Like I said, when I crossed that threshold, I went to another life. Overnight, Aparna became the heartthrob of at least Bengal, and offers came pouring in. My parents insisted I finish school. But after that, I did a Bengali film with Uttam Kumar. And this is from Satyajit Ray to Shammi Kapoor. I mean, this is like too much of a change. And they were not very enamored. In fact, Reena, Aparna Sen, she came to work with Shashi because Shashi is a great fan of Aparna. And she worked for a while and then she wrote a very polite note that I can't do this. And she left. She didn't work in Hindi films. She made her in Kolkata. But I went through the process and I worked here. So that was another decision. And then my decision, as you said, to marry and to have children while I was working and to continue my work. So these are then my decision to move to Delhi because Amma was holding fort on her own and she was of a certain age, Tiger's mother. She needed help, Tiger being the only son. So we moved to Delhi. So in between all that, I've always found my solo time, my time to look at a beautiful tree or a beautiful sunset. I find my solo time and I respect that time and I value that time because without that, living according to other people's priorities can be very draining because in the process you lose your own priority. So it's very essential that you are mindful of who you are.
That's great advice. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this are going to try and follow you and hope that they can become as wonderful as you are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
with
And
us. Thank
so
you so
nice.
much.
And I must say at this point that I'm a great fan of yours. I've read all your books.
Oh, wow.
And you have to sign them for me. You have no idea how many, the fan following you have. Scholar friend of mine, an academic friend of mine. They love the way you look at the world, your politics, your way you express things through humor.
Thank you. Now, I shouldn't have put any blush on because I'm not red. Thank you.
No, I had to tell you that.
Thank you.
I had to tell you that.
And this is
Yes.
absolutely wonderful. What a life. I'm just in awe. You've made such strong decisions at times when it was, not the norm. And you've always led life on your own terms. And I guess that is the secret of your success.
Well, that was, it was not planned or anything. It's just that it came from within me. And I think I owe it to my family and my extended family. They gave me the confidence, and that, like I said, kept me together in a place like Mumbai at the age of 17 in the 60s when I was on my own. And because I could always speak up for myself. I was not one of those invisible person or I asserted myself wherever I went.
That is such an important thing
and
you
that
just
I
said.
could do because of the confidence that my family gave me.
No, that's such an important thing, that you made sure that you were not invisible. You always had a voice.
Because if I don't consider myself visible, then why would others see me? Because women are invisible by and large. And they do. We can carry on for 3 hours.